Here's another test for you. It may be something that you've been asking yourself throughout these past couple of videos. If we have to do all this interpretation and compiling of the language, why not just use machine code from the beginning? Why don't all programs just use machine code ahead of time? We compile our code, let's say JavaScript, and then we just give our websites our machine code. So they don't even have to worry about all this compiler interpretation and JIT compiler. What do you think the answer to that is? Take a second here, pause the video, and see if you can answer this yourself to test your comprehension. All right, you ready for this? You see, if JavaScript were compiled, then either compilation would have to be super fast, because remember, our JavaScript files get sent from the server to the browser. So the compiling has to happen on the browser, or the competing browsers, that is Firefox, Microsoft Edge, Chrome browsers, would have to agree on some binary executable format or standard that can understand this machine code. Because at the end of the day, these browsers are the ones that are executing the code. Now, when JavaScript was created in 1995, that's the start of the browser wars, where browsers are competing against each other. So compiling the code ahead of time, or even just compiling the code on the browser, was not feasible at all, because back in the day, that was really, really slow. But also, having all the browsers agree on an executable format to run JavaScript, well, they didn't get along, so that wasn't going to happen. Even now, browsers have different ways of doing things, and there's just no real standard. But luckily enough, things might change in the future. We now have something called WebAssembly, and something that you should really keep an eye on, because this could be a game changer in the future. We have the standard binary executable format called WebAssembly. And this is what we didn't have in 1995. We didn't have the competing browsers agreeing on this format, where we can compile our code all the way down to WebAssembly, this executable format, so that it runs really, really fast on the browser instead of having to go through that entire JavaScript engine process. So keep an eye on WebAssembly. But I hope now, if you've heard about WebAssembly and you're curious what it is, that's the big advantage of it. We might not have to do all these interpreter, compiler, and all the steps that JavaScript requires to actually run the code on the browser. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.